Hey there. Today we are diving into reflexive pronoun and intensive pronouns, two categories that often confuse people but are actually easy to master. Trust me, LEXI-AURA is here to make things simpler. By the end of this lesson, you will know the difference between and how to use them correctly. Now, let's look at what are reflexive pronouns. These are used to reflect the action back to the subject. You know what is the subject of a sentence? They are used when the subject and object of a sentence are the same person or thing. Right, the subject can be human being or an object, right? So now, let's look at the examples of the various reflexive pronouns. We have myself, very easy, myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves, right? So we are mixing up the singular form and then the plural form, right? So myself, the plural form of myself is ourselves. Yourself, plural, yourselves, right? So now we have the picture. That is it. So now let's continue and move on to the intensive pronouns, right? So I can even still give you an example under the reflexive one. Example is I cut myself while cooking. Right? So here, myself refers back to I, right? The subject. Now, let's move on to the intensive pronouns, right? So these look the same as reflexive pronouns, right? They look the same as reflexive pronouns, but serve a different purpose, right? They emphasize the subject, right? And are not essential to the meaning of the sentence, right? So it means that you can actually ignore them in a sentence and the sentence will still be meaningful. You don't need it to make the sentence a complete one. So that is it. But we are still going to use it. Sometimes we make the grammar or speaking, right, very interesting. That is why we use the intensive, right? So we are going to look at example, right? So I myself baked this cake. I myself baked this cake. So if you remove myself, the sentence still makes sense. So simply, I can say, I baked this cake. You understand? And other examples will include, she herself solved the puzzle. Simply, she solved the puzzle, right? They themselves organized the event or the event, right? So they organize the event. Simple. So it means that we don't really need them, but we are just using it to underscoring our point. So that is it. Now let's move on to the key differences, right? The key difference between the two. At least this should be a take home. Now, reflexive pronouns, right, are needed for the sentence to make sense. Reflexive, they are needed to make the sentence make sense. And the intensive, we don't need it. We don't really need it, right? They are just for emphasis, right? The sentence works without them, right? So now let's look at some practice, right? If you really understood, else in the comment section, let me know and I'll help you in a simple way for you to understand. So can you tell if these sentences use reflexive or intensive pronouns? He fixed the car himself. Right? I'm even tempted to answer. Now, the second one is what? I hurt myself during the practice. Tell me. So, comment your answers below. Right? If this lesson helped, right, be sure to like and follow for more grammar tips. See you next time. LEXI-AURA. Speak right.